My name is Adell Henderson. I am editor-in-chief of Respect Magazine. Prior to that, been working in this industry a little over 20 years. Started when I was at school at Michigan State. I used to do a music video show, and that was my in into the industry, and my official in into the industry in terms of dealing with the labels and dealing with different representatives and starting to really meet artists. And I remember even when I was at Michigan State, I had a partner of mine come up to me and was like, man, you're doing all this stuff with these artists, you're doing these events, these parties, like, who you need to hit, man. You need to hit my boy Kurt. Kurt? He went here, he just moved down to Atlanta, he just started a studio called Patchwerk, and I remember he giving me the information, and he's like, you need to call Kurt, man. He's doing like a lot of stuff. So I remember, reaching out, calling, leaving a message, and I remember, missing his call, doing the phone tag, never talked. Right? It's like even back then, we never communicated, but over the years I started becoming more and more familiar with, Patchwerk Studios. And, I think for me, aside from, hearing about it, through, our, mutual friend, like I said, I was doing a music video show, so I would get like all of these CDs, I would get like all of these music videos to put on, and I remember getting a Mean Green video, In the Wind featuring Jazzy Faye. And I'm like, who is this guy? Who are these guys? But I was just like, oh man, and it's just like, just based off of, the love and starting to, realize that, this is something that was, Patchwerk affiliated, put it into rotation. And then I remember I start seeing, more of a presence of Patchwerk from, one of our hometown heroes. I'm a Flint, Michigan native, and so MC Breed to us, that was like, our guy, who came out of the city. And I remember seeing Breed way back in the day when I was younger. He went to high school with my sister, seeing him at talent shows, and to see him and his career explode, and him to make that move to Atlanta, and ultimately you start to see like a Patchwerk connection, and then that one Jazzy Faye guy from that other song, them making the connection and making a lot of music together. I mean, it really started to, show like, damn, all right, this, this Patchwerk situation, is really coming along. And it's crazy to think, sort of, fast forward and, come to realize that so much more, was recorded in this studio. And it's like, I've been down here in Atlanta now about 5.5 years. And, just recently, Curtis and I finally made the connection. We finally start talking, had a conversation. By that time, I came on board as editor-in-chief of Respect. And, we had the conversation about this being the 20-year anniversary of Patchwerk. And I was just like, we got to do something. Even outside of, just showing love, for somebody who, come from where I come from, went to school, at the same place, at the same time, even though we didn't know each other there, it's just like, we have a certain camaraderie, amongst, one another, to where, we want to go ahead and look out. But it was so much more than that. It wasn't like I'm doing a favor. It's just like, hold up a second, we helping each other out. This is an amazing situation, amazing legacy, and a great time. And so really, coming over to Patchwerk Studio and putting together a big package, sort of documenting the legacy of this studio and everything that is brought, to the table, for our industry and for so many people's lives. I mean, it was just, the perfect timing. And, when they started to put together the roster of people who were going to be coming out, and the people started to come through, and we started going through the motions, and man, you really start to see, how special of a situation that this is. Because when you think about, a national hip hop publication doing something on a studio, there's a lot of studios that have been around for a long time, but where we're at right now with the music culture, and to think 20 years ago, I remember being in New York City, being excited about being there, being excited about hip hop, listening to Hot 97 and hearing all these amazing artists on there, and being from the Midwest, seeing that something was missing, any music outside of New York, I was like, man, what about all these other artists that I, came to know and love? And, even, thinking back to Outkast, who is a group, that really had an amazing relationship with the studio at the very beginning. We all think back to, Outkast and, Dre saying, in New York City, like, man, from the South, we got something to say. And here we are 20 years later, and Atlanta hip hop, is pretty much dominating all radio, everywhere. And to walk through these halls and to see, how much of an influence and impact that Patchwerk, has had on this culture, it speaks volumes. Like walking through these halls, seeing these plaques, not only am I, blown away just to think like, well, damn, I had no idea that was recorded here, or that, the studio has something to do with this, that, and that. But it also just, man, it's like a museum, man. It really is like a museum. It's like a time capsule, because the cool thing about, coming here for this particular piece is not only are we seeing the effects of the work that's been put in from the studio, but you're hearing these amazing stories, man. We're in a position to where we're helping to document these amazing stories, that have taken place within culture. This is so much bigger than a 20-year anniversary of Patchwerk Studios. It's like we're documenting culture, and we're seeing how, certain relationships started, where, certain artists and producers jailed, where people, just had a common place where everybody felt comfortable and safe, and, they could go ahead and just really do business. And it's so much more than walls and equipment. It's like the culture, that was created, with this brand. It just really speaks volumes. I love, I think that in a day and age where, the music industry is, shifted, so much, the industry itself, is taking a big hit. People aren't really purchasing music anymore. And you have to find ways to be resourceful and, sort of change with the times. And that's another thing that blew me away about Patchwerk. It's like they're so ahead of the game in regards to being like a one-stop shop, because regardless to whatever the industry is doing and what the labels are doing, there's still artists, there's still good music being made, there's still amazing producers, and this is still a profitable industry. It's just the way that it's been traditionally happening, has shifted. And the awesome thing about, what's going on here at Patchwerk is all of the different packages, and it still allows opportunities for, the artists, to be first and to have a hub, to have like any and everything that you need to get done with your record, could get done here. Where they do that at, in a way to where, it's a place that's, respected. You have the highest quality of personnel and equipment, and a crazy legacy. It's like, where else are you going to get that at? And so for the people that came out, and showed their respects, and, for the ones that didn't make it, it's like, it just says a lot about what this place, really, really means to the culture.